everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the 1Million by 1 Million podcast. 1M by 1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. Today, we are talking to Bill Baumel from the Ohio Innovation Fund. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
So, Bill, tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us about the Ohio Innovation Fund. What is the investment focus? How big is the fund? What size investments are you making? Let's get you acquainted with our audience.
That's great. Be glad to. So actually, I grew up in Ohio. Went to Ohio State. Went to its arch rival school, Michigan. And actually was a venture capitalist, a little bit out of Minneapolis, where we did some investments on the East Coast. But then spent about the last 20 years in Silicon Valley as a venture capitalist. And a couple of years ago, had the opportunity to come back to Ohio. I've been watching Ohio and looking at the investments, the venture capital ecosystem there, and saw it developing, particularly at the seed stage, where a number of great angel funds and seed funds had emerged. And saw a real opportunity for a Silicon Valley type venture firm to be right here in Ohio, leading the Series A and some Series B investments of the most promising companies in Ohio. So came back to head that up. Lucky to have the support of many strong Ohio institutions, including the Ohio State University, Ohio University, and Kent State University, all as major limited partners in this endeavor. And we right now are investing primarily in leading Series A investments in both medtech and technology companies. We currently, over the last couple of years, have built a portfolio up to 12 companies, and we've had some a good success with those companies in terms of progress, revenue growth, and actually some very strong Series B financings, including one last week that was unheard of in Ohio, which was a $40 million Series B financing led by one of the top 3 pharmaceutical companies in the world, Sanofi. So that's
wonderful.
What we're up to right now.
We'll talk more about some specific investments, but let me first get some of the specifics of the fund together. So how big is the fund?
We have not disclosed that through right now, but it's approximately $50 million, that ballpark.
Okay. And what size checks are you writing?
It's, Ohio, you have to be flexible with. We're trying to find the most promising investments in Ohio. So it's anywhere from earlier stages where it's in the hundreds of thousands to something a little bit more further along as a Series A where it's a few million. We're probably over time getting, $3 to $4 million into our most promising companies.
And so geographically, it has to be Ohio, right? Ohio Innovation Fund is only Ohio, isn't it?
It's primarily Ohio. I'd say 90 to 95% of our investments, or even close to 100%, will be in Ohio. Technically, the fund's mandate is any company in Ohio or with extremely strong ties to Ohio. For example, if a technology would be, a company would be utilizing maybe outside of Ohio, but had utilized and spun off from Ohio State or Case Western or the Cleveland Clinic, that would still fall within our purview. It's basically the exploitation of Ohio's and development of Ohio's technologies, but 95% of what we do, in fact, 12 of our 13 portfolio companies are right in the heartland of Ohio.
Okay. Now, what about types of ventures? And for this discussion, let's stay focused on IT because we don't really do pharmaceuticals. We do healthcare IT, digital health, but not necessarily pharma. So let's focus on IT and healthcare IT.
Yes. So we have 2 cybersecurity companies. We have 1 data science company. We have a few software as a service companies, SaaS companies that are addressing different markets. One happens to be addressing the healthcare market, where for those conducting clinical trials, such as customers such as Duke and UCSF and some others, as well as for the pharmas that are sponsoring them. We provide workflow document management and compliance assurance for those clinical trials. So a lot of software, a lot of data science, AI, machine learning, and cybersecurity. That's been the primary focus on the tech side.
Okay. And do you have preference between B2B or B2C?
Yeah, I believe obviously Facebook and Twitter and others have shown that you can make a lot of money on B2C. My background is more on the B2B side.
Okay.
We do have one technology company that's B2C, Mizzou, in the financial payments area out of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Most of the other companies are B2B software as a service, cybersecurity, and data science.
Okay. So let's double-click down into your ecosystem. What are the numbers in Ohio? How many startups are operating in Ohio? And by the way, you can count in this number both venture fundable, venture style startups as well as the bootstrap startups. We are a huge supporter of bootstrap startups as well. So that's fine. I think those are important to grow an economic region.
Absolutely. And so there are, the state of Ohio has a number of very strong angel organizations, including like the Ohio Tech Angels Fund. The state has also funded what are called entrepreneurial signature programs, such as Rev 1 in Columbus, Jumpstart in Cleveland, and Cincy Tech in Cincinnati, and Tech Growth in Athens that do seed stage investing. So there's a robust seed stage investing, and there also are a lot of bootstrap companies. So the companies, the ASPs and angels that funded are in the hundreds. There are lots of companies, and I would say probably 300 to 500 at least, from that perspective. And there's also quite a bit of bootstrapped companies. We actually have an office in the area of Columbus. It's called the Short North, which is really a booming area. And actually, Columbus was rated as one of the top 10 cities for startup investing and startups. And we're in an office building with a number of other startups. And most of the startups that are in our office building, actually, one was a bootstrap that got themselves up to, ironically, in the name of this, $1 million in revenue, then came to us at that point in time. But there are, just as many, for every one company backed by angel investors, there's at least one or two that are being bootstrapped and grown, in all different areas, consumer, business, kind of across the board. So it's a very vibrant, entrepreneurial startup community that we find ourselves in Ohio with.
Okay. That's actually great to know. And, we will, one of these days, we're going to put a spotlight on Ohio. One thing that I would request you to do is to have companies that in your geography who have crossed the $5 million benchmark in annual revenue to contact us so that we can profile them, because we have all kinds of PR opportunities on the platform where we could showcase companies. And you may want to see, we've done these spotlights on Colorado, spotlights on Utah, spotlights on the Czech Republic, and there are more spotlights coming. It would be great to start showcasing Ohio in that as well. I don't think we have enough Ohio case studies yet to be able to do that.
We have 5 of those in our portfolio, so I'll be glad to pass them along.
Yeah, please pass them along, and we'll be happy to showcase them. So going back to the portfolio, tell us about the highlights of your portfolio. Maybe talk about some of these $5 million plus companies that are, finding their stride and so forth, so we can, look at some of what's happening out there.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and the companies right now, as I said, we have 2 companies that are on the FDA approval side, so they're pre-revenue, obviously. But of the 10 other companies, they are combined growing over 100% year over year, and a majority, 8 of those, are growing 100% year over year, and the others are growing at 30 to 50%. So we're finding very strong growth. And we're finding recognition out there via partnerships. For example, I'll pick one called Wiretap. Wiretap is a cybersecurity company providing their services and their solution for platforms such as Slack, Yammer, and Microsoft Teams, Facebook Workplace. And they actually have strong partnerships with Facebook, with Microsoft. They have major customers, GlaxoSmithKline, AstraZeneca, AIG, those types of customers. So we're finding, we're having a lot of success with our companies. Actually, a majority of the Fortune 500 are now customers of our companies. And, we have another company called Immuta that recently did a Series B financing with Draper Growth, came out of Silicon Valley to fund it, along with strategic investors such as Citi Ventures, Dell EMC, Daimler, and others. So we are finding, our companies, a lot of them, we have a few right now that have grown, all have grown. They were no more than $1 million or so when we started with them. Over the last couple of years, one's already grown to $35 million, a couple to $10 to $12 million, actually 3 or 4 to $10, $12 million, a lot right now in kind of the $4 to $6 million range. The other thing about Ohio is it's much more capital efficient.
Yeah.
To grow to $10, $20 million in revenue, we are not raising $50 million. We are doing it on, $3 to $5 million Series A, $8 to $10 million Series B. And so, it is, it bodes well for, so it's capital efficient. We're finding a very strong workforce. We're finding, a very strong work ethic. We do partner somewhat with Silicon Valley and use our network there. For example, Mike Hughes, the former senior vice president of worldwide sales at Barracuda, is an advisor to Wiretap, our cybersecurity company, as is one of the founders of Box out in Silicon Valley, as is one of the former Intel chief security officers who's now at Cylance. So we do bring some expertise. We're now finding that the first to come here are the Facebook's partnering with us, and the Microsofts, and the Cities, and the Dells, and the Sanofis, and all those are coming first and partnering with our companies. And as they do, that's bringing some of the venture capital from the coast along with it. But they are recognizing our companies for the strength of the solutions they're offering in the marketplace. So we've been very
good because I'm sure from your experience in the venture capital industry for all these years that the bulk of the exits in the industry happen in the 50, 60 million price point. So unless you can do businesses and build businesses capital efficiently, you don't really make money off those exits.
Bingo. And we are exactly focused on that. So do we love the $1 billion exit? Absolutely. But, a lot of, we love a great hitting percentage on base percentage where we're getting a company sold that took in $5 to $10 million at $100 million. I mean, it's tough to make money, in a $10 million, $20 million sale a lot of time, but you start getting up to 50 to 100 million or a few hundred million, you can make a nice return there. And hopefully a few of them, can achieve, close to $1 billion, but that's not, there's a lot more, particularly in Ohio.
I think, in the growth of a region, and if you look at I strongly recommend you take a look at these spotlights on Colorado and Utah. What you see there are, 2, 3, maximum 5 unicorns, but there are lots of other kinds of successes and, lots of activity. Like you said, there are hundreds of companies, both, small amounts of financing as well as, hundreds that are bootstrapped success stories. And that's really what creates a robust regional startup hub.
I absolutely agree, and someone how Silicon Valley started from Fairchild Semiconductor. If a Wiretap is acquired for a few $100 million or for some amount, and then those founders, a couple engineers start this, and then a couple market people start that. And next thing you know, there's 5 to 10 startups coming out of Wiretap or from from our other companies. So we're very we agree with that.
That's right. Great. So excellent. Now, I think we've talked a lot about what is in your portfolio, what is the numbers. Can you double-click down a little bit on the pipeline of, what have you seen in the last 18 months in your deal flow, and what trends are those pointing to? What's happening in Ohio? What kinds of companies?
I would say we are seeing people with bigger ideas now. It used to be, you would get a business plan and it was there was a sense that if you had a good idea, you could spend 5-10 years to execute on it. You could and very much, incrementalist thinking. I think now we're seeing a lot more big ideas, a lot more sense of urgency, and I think as we continue to invest in these companies, more of an understanding of the process of building a venture. And that's actually one of the key things, that we do as a Ohio Innovation Fund. We don't only want to, one of our key thing is to grow successful companies, validate the market, have a number of successful exits, maybe not all unicorns, but at levels that we talked about previously, to attract the capital to this region and be a partner that people on the coast can trust to co-invest with here. Another part of that is obviously, with the entrepreneurs that are here, some are seasoned. We have 2 entrepreneurs that have previously taken companies public, but the rest, this is their first startup, so there's a lot of work with them. We also partner with our student universities. Students are universities. So we actually have about 20 interns per year at the Ohio Innovation Fund going through. We have someone, Jill Radersdorf, who runs that program for us. And we have another 30, 40, 50 interns that intern at our portfolio companies. So we're really trying to build up that infrastructure. And as we do, the word of mouth is spreading, dramatically. We are now seeing, students from Kenyon College, students from Ohio University, students from Akron, students from Kent State, students from Ohio State, students from Case, coming to us with business ideas. We're seeing more and more entrepreneurs come with business activities. The whole level, of understanding, and we had our first idea pitch competition at Kent State University and those sorts of things. So we're seeing, Ohio's about 50% med tech and 50% tech. It's just kind of how Ohio is based on its, from the Cleveland Clinic and Bechtel and the universities and all that. But we're seeing more and more, well thought out, strong business plans of companies that have opportunity to grow to 10, 20, maybe even $100 million in revenue and be significant successes.
Well, in medtech, you must also see lots of digital health, right? Not just pharma and medical devices, but the digital health is booming right now.
That is booming right now on the medtech side. Like I said, we have the one company up in Cleveland. There's a spin out of Case in the software as a service area. We do have one pharma company that's growing quite rapidly, and then we have that's down in Athens area. We actually have another one that's really interesting in the personalized medicine area. So they provide the biorepositories for personalized medicine and those other sorts of things, to the Amgens and Genentechs and those. And they, over the last couple of years, have grown from basically nothing to $35 million in revenue. It's a company called Sterling Ultracold down in Athens. And one last thing I'd say about that is another reward beyond this, mentioning the students is, part of Appalachia is in Ohio, down in the Athens area. And, over the last 10 years or so, there's one company that was built up and was sold to Quidel and had 100 employees and such. We now, over the last couple of years, have built up 2 companies with 100-plus employees and tens of millions of dollars in revenue in that area. So that's part of the impact we're having in Ohio, too, is really allowing, the next generation to not just not have to leave for the coast or stay home and work for a Fortune 500 like Procter & Gamble or Nationwide, allowing them to, enter the entrepreneurial, innovative, workforce. And we're very, pleased to provide that opportunity and the demand, particularly the next generation, that's coming out, the millennial generation. They really enjoy entrepreneurship, innovation, having that impact. And that's a big part of what our funds do. We have another software company down in Cincinnati, in the Mason area of Cincinnati, that is the leading supplier, partner actually with SAP Ariba. Again, the trend of companies like SAP coming to Ohio and partnering with our portfolio companies. They provide diversity supply chain management for diversity initiatives and are growing quite rapidly with Fortune 500 companies and partners like Ernst & Young and SAP as well. So we've been really pleased with the progress so far.
Very cool. Very cool. This is really exciting to hear all the activities and energy that's simmering in Ohio, and thank you for sharing what's happening. Audience, thank you for listening. I hope you found this interesting and exciting. Actually, I find all these regional development stories incredibly exciting. So I will see you at one of the roundtables, hopefully. If you're looking to pitch your idea do go to the free roundtables tab on the website and sign up to pitch, and we'll be in touch with you with instructions. Otherwise, see you back at one of these podcast sessions. I will be bringing you many more of these sessions. Thank you for attending.